Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Sometimes we need to be reminded of the little things in life, so I'm going to share with you more of a story that some of you may have heard in the past, but I felt it was important that we get reminded. I'm going to tell you a story about a friend of mine named Lynn. Lynn is a very small, petite little woman, about 5'1", 110 pounds at the very most. And Lynn is, I guess, some people might say, a free spirit. She's always worked very hard and played very hard in her life. Not being very well educated, Lynn spent the majority of her life as a bartender, mostly in an American Legion hall. So it's not real exciting, and she got to meet some pretty unusual people, me being one. Where I lived in Pennsylvania, other than the American Legion Hall, there wasn't a whole lot to do, so I did go there occasionally when they had events. And I got to know Lynn a little bit, but we weren't really very close friends. Again, she had a busy life, I was still working, so we socialized when I went to the Legion, but that was about it. But after several years of small talk with Lynn, I had become the caregiver for my husband, who was terminally ill. This is when I discovered who Lynn really was. Lynn spent every day for 2 years at my house. She would bring me food, talk to me, visit with me, just be a good friend. She just really was more of a person than I ever anticipated she could be. I was thrilled. I was in a place where I hadn't been living very long and I didn't know very many people. So Lynn was my rock. Several years later, I decided to move to Arizona because I met my wonderful husband, and well, he wasn't my husband then, but I was going to move to Arizona and get married. Lynn and I were not real happy about this because we weren't going to be at each other's doorstep. However, she was a good friend. She came to Arizona and she was my best man. Maid of honor. She might have been my best man if I asked her to do that too, knowing Lynn. But she came to Arizona. She even spent her honeymoon with us. What kind of a friend is that? We had decided that even though I was 2,000 miles away, we were going to keep in close touch, and we did. We frequently called each other, told each other of our woes. She was complaining about her kids, and I was complaining about the heat. But we kept close touch with each other. Several years later, I'm talking to Lynn, and she kept telling me every time I would talk to her on the phone, "Oh, I have pneumonia again. Third time this year." Well, let me explain something about Lynn. Because she worked in the American Legion and because of her lifestyle, Lynn smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. It was something that was always in her mouth. And I said, "Lynn, you're so sick. You keep getting pneumonia. You've got to quit smoking." I know. Another year would go by. Oh, I got pneumonia again. The next year, I've got pneumonia again and can't hardly breathe. "Lynn, when are you going to quit smoking?" "Will you smoke?" I said, "I know. Let's quit together." "Well, I don't know if I can," she said. "I just can't." So I finally get a call from Lynn, and she says, "Well, I have to quit smoking." So I'm thinking, she's finally got lung cancer. It's inevitable. She said, "I am up to 180 pounds. I said, "No, that's not possible. You're this tiny little woman. You can't be. That's not real." "Yeah, I'm 180 pounds, I'm so fat, I'm bloated, and my doctor said I need a double lung transplant. So she didn't have lung cancer. She just had such enormous disease in her lungs, both lungs, from smoking so much. Well, I'm thinking, well, this is a good thing, because she'll get new lungs, she'll be a new person, she'll be healthy. So be it. She said, I am on the priority list. I'm so bad, I'm on the priority list for a donor. Great. So we're thinking that this is a positive thing. We made plans. As soon as you get your transplant and you're all healed, we're going to take a trip. We're going to meet in Williamsburg. So this was a big trip we were planning. We were going to go do this. Well, Lynn waited on this priority list for 2 years, getting worse every day. She couldn't hardly leave the house. She couldn't breathe. And she was really, really giving up. I said, oh, Lynn, it'll happen, you'll get your lungs, you'll be a whole new person. Now, mind you, during this whole time, she's not smoking. Finally, I get a call one day from her daughter, and she says, Mom is on her way to the hospital for her lung transplant. Hallelujah, I was so excited for her. She was finally going to get healed. Although I wasn't being unrealistic, I knew that this was a long process, but at least it was the beginning. Well, Lynn had a very successful double lung transplant. But anyone who knows anything about transplants knows that there's always a rejection period, there's healing, there's a lot more that goes on than just taking parts out and putting new parts in. Lynn went for 3 months with fighting infection, fighting pain, fighting infection, fighting pain. She was kept in isolation. Couldn't have any calls. The only family that could visit her was her immediate family. So I couldn't call her, couldn't say anything. But I kept in touch with her daughter, at least 2-3 times a week. How's it going? How's it going? So this was about probably 3 months. Finally, I hear from her daughter, and she said, Mom's doing so good. She's finally broken the infection. She's awake now. They woke her up. She's even laughing. What a great day. She's starting the healing process. The next day, I get a call from her daughter, and she says, Mom died. I said, that's not funny. Lynn had gotten a blood clot, and it didn't move while she was resting and sedated. But when she woke up and started moving, it killed her within 2 hours. The purpose of this story is to remind you that when a friend calls for your help, regardless of what you're doing or what's going on in your life, you need to be there for your friend. Tomorrow is not going to come. If I had gone there to see her, it wouldn't have changed things. But there was time I could have gone before she had the surgery, and I could have seen her, but I did not. So remember, put everything else aside and give your heart to your friend. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you, Patricia, for sharing that with us. Speaking of time, we all have time. If you haven't done anything about becoming